Hey team, how's it going? As a former active duty non-commissioned officer and a disabled combat vet, I can tell you this whole idea of vetting the National Guardsmen for the right political views is downright offensive. And it should be offensive to anyone who supports the military. I mean, if you don't like the military, think they're all a bunch of jerks, then, whatever. Then you probably aren't going to believe them anyway. But I got news. Going through and seeing and vetting each one by the FBI to determine if they have the correct political views is garbage. It's offensive. And thankfully, I'm not the only one. We read this article from Fox News about Texas Governor Abbott, who's willing to stand for, well, that's messed up. He's in a wheelchair, so he can't really stand. But he is vicariously standing up for us and our troops, our National Guard troops. These boys are from Texas, and they don't deserve to be treated like that. It says here, Texas Governor Greg Abbott on Monday said he finds it offensive, I do too, that the FBI is vetting National Guard members, including those from his own state, ahead of President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration on Wednesday. He says, "This is the most offensive thing I've ever heard," Abbott, a Republican, wrote on Twitter. "No one should even question the loyalty and professionalism of the Texas National Guard." Now, here's the deal, guys. Those of you who haven't been in the military, you probably don't know, but let me just break it down for you real quick. Lots of these guys have security clearances, which means they were already vetted. And if they don't have a security clearance, I got news. They had background checks, and they have these things, these annoying guys with stripes that like to yell at them and give them push-ups and get knife hands in their face that say, "I want to know all about you. I'm going to come to your house. I'm going to approve when you can come to work, when you can't. If you don't come to work, I'm going to go up to you and I'm going to put my hands on you and bring you to work." I mean, non-commissioned officers, their job is to take care of troops. And part of that taking care of them is making sure they know how they feel about things, including this. And so if there were extremists in the ranks, they would be known. I knew who the guys with some crazy ideas were, but they kept them to themselves and kept them in check. And honestly, I don't want, if your thoughts, if your political speech includes taking over the government and doing all these, that including hurting people, inciting violence, that's one thing. But having political views that other people don't like, that's part of being an American, and we have to just accept it. And that includes from our National Guards and service members. Just because they join the oath doesn't mean they have to be Democrats, guys. In fact, I signed that oath, I took that oath, I still hold that oath, and I'm not a Democrat. So vetting these guys is just, man, it sucks. It says you don't trust them. And do we really want a group of soldiers that have been vetted for their ideology? I don't think so. That's what we call stormtroopers. That's what we call the secret police, which has been called for. This is scary stuff. Greg Abbott goes on to continue. "I authorized more than 1,000 to go to TC. I'll never do it again if they are disrespected like this." Well, good for you, man, and I appreciate you. That's why I voted for you. And he's not the only one. General Keane, a former 4-star general, is questioning the same thing. This all started because Representative Cohen, a Democrat, of course, brought up some stupid ideas about how maybe we can't trust them. Well, that's garbage. That's garbage. These guys have already been vetted. They've took an oath of service. You have to have evidence to suggest that they're going to be like that. You have to have things that they've said. You can't just go, we're just going to vet them all again. Well, they've already been vetted. Doing this is just, it's bad, man. We go into this next article. It says, Congressman Cohen's statement is not only outrageous, this is a statement that's significantly irresponsible and completely baseless. You see, guys, I agree. General Keane said it right. If you have a basis to think that some of these people are extremists, then go ahead and individually take them aside and check them out. I mean, the NCOs should be doing it anyway. And, Article 134 says if a soldier does something of the UCMJ, Article 134 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice says that if you do things that have a tendency to ruin the esprit de corps and morale of a unit, then the commander can step in and probably can put you in jail for violations of Article 134. And good order and discipline is part of that. And if you have extremist views, that harms the good order and discipline of the unit, which means the commander can take his hands and put you in jail. Seriously. So these things are already being taken care of, and to go out and say, just vet them all and say, y'all are just suspect, we're going to investigate every single one of you, is just nuts, man. And as General Keane says, it's completely baseless. Cohen, to his Discredit says the National Guard is 90-some-odd% male, and only about 20% of white males voted for Biden. You got to figure that in the Guard, which is predominantly more conservative, there are probably not more than 25% of the people there protecting us that voted for Biden. The other 75% are in the large class of folks that might want to do something. No, they aren't. They're soldiers. They took an oath. They will obey their oath. They will. They took an oath to defend the Constitution and to obey the orders of the president and the officers assigned above them. And they will follow their orders. And there's no reason, you have no evidence to suggest nothing that they might. That's not evidence. That's not evidence at all. Those are just statistics that don't prove or disprove anything. It just say, okay, there are a bunch of white dudes in the National Guard. Who cares? You can't say because you're a white dude that you're going to be a traitor. That's ridiculous. This is the most irritating, irresponsible, baseless, to quote General Keane, and he should apologize for something like that. I believe he should, and this is not unity. This is how you want to start unity, by impugning the integrity and loyalty of our troops? Are you insane? You have to have reason to do that. You can't just go up and impugn someone's loyalty and then expect them to be hey, I think you're a traitor. Okay, we found out you're not a traitor. Now be loyal to me. What? That's insane. And I think anyone who's honest would think it too. And this sucks. And so lastly, we'll leave it here. It says, Washington Post fact checker. Oh, wow. Finally. This must be how progressives and leftists feel when the papers actually support what they're saying. But the Washington Post fact checker Glenn Kessler criticized Cohen for implying any Trump supporter was a possible seditionist. He writes, does a Democratic congressman really want to suggest that if you voted for Trump, you might be a seditionist? What happened to the idea of military people are professionals and do their job regardless of political preferences? That's exactly right. We don't do. That's why going through and vetting them for have the proper political speech is dangerous, because automatically you're setting them apart as saying, yes, it does matter. We don't care that they're professionals and already took an oath. Now you're saying we have to make extra sure, and they have to make sure that not only are you going to take an oath, but you have to take a loyalty oath, not to the country, not to the Constitution, not to the office of the president, but to the man in the presidency. And that is dangerous, terrible stuff. And anyone who suggests it should be ashamed of themselves. But what do y'all think? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.